For today's cup of coffee, we're going to continue on with our light and fluffy.
A light and fluffy, which ain't actually that light and fluffy.
Well, in my world it is.
In your world, it's not.
So, because it interests me. I know it kind of grosses you out, but because you don't do medical things well. And yesterday we were talking about drilling holes in people's heads. So we're going to follow that up today with...
one line, you could hear a slurp.
Yeah. So today we're going to follow that up with bloodletting.
Yeah.
This was a thing for a long time, bloodletting. This does come from Wikipedia. I'll put the link in the description box. And bloodletting is the withdrawal of blood from a patient to prevent or cure illness and disease.
But is it really?
They thought so for a long time. Bloodletting, whether by a physician, or as we will see later, a barber, or by leeches. I'm a fan of the leeches.
Yes.
Was based on an ancient system of medicine in which blood and other bodily fluids were regarded as humors.
As what?
Humors.
What is that?
Well, there were different. We will find out what the humors were. It wasn't like funny, but there were different things that they called humors. And that these humors had to remain in the proper balance to maintain health. And it was claimed to have been the most common medical practice performed by surgeons from antiquity until the late 19th century. And actually later it was early 20th century in some places. In a span of over 2,000 years. And in Europe, the practice continued to be relatively common until the end of the 18th century. The practice has now been abandoned by modern-style medicine.
Good.
For all except a very few specific medical conditions.
Hell yeah.
So, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the historical use of bloodletting was harmful to patients.
No shit. No shit.
But it took them over 2,000 years to figure this out.
Yeah, somehow.
So, the science, trust the science. Passages from Eber's papyrus may indicate that bloodletting or scarification was an accepted practice in ancient Egypt. Egyptian burials have been reported to contain bloodletting instruments.
No.
Well, now think of this. You know, the burials, they put in there what they thought they would need in the afterlife. So they intended to keep doing the bloodletting.
Oh, God.
And leeches don't keep that way. I'd say they'd be hard to mummify. According to some
They just
accounts,
shrivel up.
You really, the Egyptians...
What is that? What is this weird little stick? Oh, that used to be a leech.
The Egyptians based the idea on their observations of the hippopotamus, confusing its red secretions with blood, and that they believed that it had scratched itself to relieve distress. I didn't know that hippos secreted red something, did you?
No, I did not.
Of course, we don't live amongst the hippos.
No, we don't live anywhere close to hippos. We've never seen a hippo in real life.
No. And now in Greece, bloodletting was in use in the 5th century BC during the lifetime of Hippocrates. And he does mention the practice, but generally he relied on dietary techniques. So he had a basis of true healing way back then. You know, it's like these were not stupid people by any means.
No.
I don't know why that people today think that they got it all figured out. Now, bleeding a patient to health was modeled also on the process of menstruation. And Hippocrates believed that menstruation functioned to purge women of bad humors.
Wow.
He apparently was never around anybody that had PMS.
Apparently not.
Because that is not, you talk about, that's, yeah, you got some bad humors going on there. The popularity of bloodletting in the classical Mediterranean world was reinforced by the ideas.
It's not my monkeys.
What?
Not my circus, not my monkeys.
Galen, after he discovered that not only veins but also arteries were filled with blood, not air, as was commonly believed at the time. Now, this was top of the line science at this point.
That thought arteries and veins were air, made out of air, filled with air.
Well, no, just the arteries. The veins, they knew were filled with blood.
Where do they think the veins go to?
Well, these people didn't. This was before they could do autopsies and different things like that.
You tell me they could not cut up a body after it was dead.
No, they couldn't. And there for a long time, even when they started doing the autopsies, remember that's where you get into the grave robbering and stuff like that. Because those people would have been burned at the stake. So, no, it was considered desecration of a body.
Instead of scientific study.
Exactly.
Who deemed it as desecration of a body? Who deemed it that way?
Well, and this is people's different belief systems. Now, after a certain point in time, like within the Renaissance, and we may do that at some point as far as the history of autopsies and anatomy and stuff, that was, the Catholic Church, they were the moral compass for the peoples at that point.
Oh, yes, because they're so moral.
Well, and it was one of those that, no, if you were caught doing an autopsy or any kind of anatomy thing, then you got killed. Excommunicated was the least of the things. Which meant that they told you that you were no longer saved and were going to hell.
Yeah.
You're not one of us. Anyhow, there were two key concepts in his system of bloodletting. The first was that blood was created and then used up, that it did not circulate, so it would stagnate in the extremities. And the second was that humoral balance was the basis of illness or health, the four humors being blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. So there you go.
Yeah.
And these were relating to the four Greek classical elements of air, water, earth, and fire, respectively. Now, within Chinese medicine, there still is a lot of, as far as the different elements causing different diseases. And it does work. Ayurveda does the same thing, that if you've got different imbalances, like if it's got too much moist conditions that are caused by too much moist, then you need to eat foods that are dry. Yeah. And different things that some you're supposed to avoid spicy foods, others you're supposed to add spicy foods.
Moist.
Galen believed that blood was the dominant humor and the one in most need of control. And in order to balance the humors, a physician would either remove excess blood, also a plethora, which is an excess, from the patient, or give them an emetic to induce vomiting or a diuretic to induce urination. We do the same thing today.
Yeah.
Especially as far as if somebody's got blood pressure issues, they usually give them a medication that's got some kind of diuretic in it. Now, as far as the emetics...
Go shit yourself.
Now, that was to pee. That
Go
was
piss yourself.
Now, emetics to induce vomiting, that's also used today. If somebody has ingested something that, not caustic poisons, but other kinds of poisons and stuff, then absolutely you give them a purgative to where that they can vomit that back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was an EMT, it's like if it burns going down, it'll burn coming back up. And so you had to use other substances to try to dilute that type of caustic poisoning.
Yeah.
So, see, we educational and shit. We are.
Don't I know enough about puking?
You were the pukey kid. Galen created a complex system of how much blood should be removed based on the patient's age, constitution, the season, the weather, and the place. Supposedly they were do-it-yourself bleeding instructions developed.
Yes, cause yourself injury.
Symptoms of plethora
Self-harm.
were believed to include fever, epilepsy, which is a rupture of an internal organ, and headache. There you go, baby. You need to be bled. I'll go get the leeches.
Bled my ass. Look, we got cats.
The blood was to be let out of a specific,
Like sharks.
of
Smell
a
of
specific nature, right, determined by the disease. It was either arterial or venous, and distant or close to the body, close to the area of the body affected. He linked different blood vessels with different organs according to their supposed drainage. For example, the vein in the right hand would be bled or let for liver problems, and the vein on the left hand for problems with the spleen, because of the proximity. So there you go. The more severe the disease, the more blood would be let. Fevers required copious amounts of bloodletting. It's like, here, you feel like hell. We're going to make you feel worse.
Mm-hmm. We're going to make you pass out. Maybe even die.
Even after the humoral system fell into disuse, the practice was continued by surgeons and barber surgeons.
Barber surgeons.
Yes, it seems like that Flapjack, didn't they?
Barber
Have the barber surgeon.
Oh, that's horrifying.
And though the bloodletting was often recommended by
Get
physicians,
your haircut and your skin too.
it was carried out by the barbers. And this led to the distinction between physicians and surgeons. The red and white striped pole of the barbershop, still in use today, is derived from this practice. The red symbolizes blood, while the white symbolizes the bandages. Yeah, you didn't even know that, did you? Mm-hmm. Bloodletting was used to treat a wide range of diseases, becoming a standard treatment for almost every ailment. A number of different methods were employed. The most common was phlebotomy, a venesection, often called breathing a vein, in which blood was drawn from one or more of the larger external veins, such as those in the forearm or neck.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this.
In areotomy, an artery was punctured, although generally only in the temples. He's squirming. He really is. And scarification, not referring to the method of body modification, the superficial vessels were attacked. Often using a syringe, a spring-loaded lancet, or a glass cup that contained heated air, which produced a vacuum. Hey, it's like, I have to do this daily. As far as the spring-loaded lancet, it's called the diabetes.
That's different.
How is it different?
It's different.
It's not as much blood, but it's like, I still think it's a form of self-harm. There was also a specific bloodletting tool called a scarificator.
It cuts you.
It cuts you. And this was used primarily in the 19th century. It was a spring-loaded mechanism with gears that snapped the blades out through slits in the front cover and back in a circular motion. So you punched it, and it's like you had little blades that come out and they did their thing and then they went back in.
It's the fucking, you know that thing that you that's spring loaded and you whack the button on top to chop the vegetables? That's what that is.
Sort of. What it reminded me was, you remember when we were taking down the wallpaper border and we had that little circular thingy that cut? That's what it reminded me of.
The fuck if that's getting anywhere near my skin? I ain't touching that thing again.
And then the leeches. Here we go with the leeches.
It's about damn time. That's all I wanted to hear about was the damn leeches.
The withdrawal of so much blood as to induce syncope, which is fainting, was considered beneficial, and many sessions would only end when the patient began to swoon.
It's because they've lost too much fucking blood. They're about to die.
And it says William Harvey disproved the basis of the practice in 1628. Nevertheless, all the way into 1838, a lecturer at the Royal College of Physicians would state that bloodletting is a remedy which, when judiciously employed, it is hardly possible to estimate too highly. That means that he was a fan of it. Yeah. And
maybe someone needs to do it to him for once.
There was a person that also practiced the bloodletting. His name was Bruce A., and he would recommend 50 leeches at a time.
I could handle like 2 at the most.
I don't know. I've never been leeched like that, so I don't know. And
I've never been leeched either, but I can tell you I would only be able to handle 2.
And it says that one British medical text recommended bloodletting for acne, asthma, cancer, cholera, coma, convulsions, diabetes, epilepsy, gangrene, gout, herpes, indigestion, insanity, jaundice, leprosy, ophthalmia, plague, pneumonia, scurvy, smallpox, stroke, tetanus, tuberculosis, and for some 100 other diseases.
So everything in the kitchen sink included. And the fridge.
And it says even...
And the boiler.
This bloodletting was even used to treat most forms of hemorrhaging, such as nosebleed, excessive menstruation.
But you know why it stops it? Because you're running out of blood.
Or hemorrhoidal bleeding. Now, is that a place you really want to leech? Is it really? Is it really? Before surgery,
she could shoot a leech right out of her ass.
Before surgery or at the onset of childbirth, blood was removed to prevent inflammation. Before amputation, it was customary to remove a quantity of blood equal to the amount believed to circulate in the limb that was to be removed.
God.
There were theories.
God.
There was a theory that bloodletting would cure heart sickness or a heartbreak. Now, there was a French physician who wrote a book in 1623 on the uses of bloodletting to cure a broken heart.
That has to be a form of suicide.
He recommended bloodletting to the point of heart failure. So there you go. No more broken heart. Ever.
Yeah, you'll be dead.
Now, leeches, going back to the leeches, became especially popular in the early 19th century.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In the 1830s, the French imported about 40 million leeches a year for medical purposes. And in the next decade, England imported 6 million leeches a year from France alone.
Why?
Through the early decades
in jars
of the century, hundreds of millions of leeches were used by physicians throughout Europe. Now, there you go. There's a cottage industry. We need to bring back leeching.
Have some leeches in a jar.
Absolutely. And go
Don't
around.
touch that. Don't touch that.
One typical course of medical treatment began the morning of July the 13th, 1824. A French sergeant was stabbed through the chest while engaging in single combat. Now, within minutes, he fainted from the loss of blood.
No shit.
And arriving at the local hospital, he was immediately bled 20 ounces.
He was already bled.
To prevent inflammation.
Are you fucking...
During the night, he was bled another 24 ounces.
So he's just bleeding out.
Early the next morning,
he's just died.
The chief surgeon bled the patient another 10 ounces.
He bled out.
During the next 14 hours, he was bled 5 more times. Well, hell, why didn't they just leave the wound open?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it says medical attendants thus intentionally removed more than half of the patient's normal blood supply, in addition to the initial blood loss which caused the sergeant to faint.
Yeah.
Bleedings continued over the next several days.
They experimented on him.
By July 29th, oh no, they had it perfected at this point. By July 29th, the wound had become inflamed.
No shit.
The physician applied 32 leeches to the most sensitive part of the wound. Over the next 3 days, there were more bleedings and a total of 40 more leeches. The sergeant recovered and was discharged on October the 3rd, and his physician wrote that by the large quantity of blood lost, amounting to 170 ounces, which is nearly 11 pints, besides that drawn by the application of leeches, perhaps another 2 pints, the life of the patient was preserved.
How many bags of blood did they collect from those leeches?
Well, I don't think they collected
the
blood.
You grab the tail and you squish it out.
Milk the leeches.
Yeah, you do. You milk it out. You squish it all out.
But more than likely what happened was where the leeches produce a natural form of heparin. That's probably what, saved the man.
Just fucking extract the heparin.
You can't do that because then you kill the leech.
Exactly. It made
You kill the leech. Don't kill the leeches. By 19th century standards,
you just bring them out for the blood. Come on.
13 pints of blood
leech
taken over the space of a month was large, but not an exceptional quantity. So everybody was just bleeding everywhere. No wonder they had so much disease. I mean, because you've got a tremendous amount of diseases that are in people's blood. Not everybody's blood, but a lot of people's blood. Bloodletting was also popular in the young United States of America, where Benjamin Rush, who was a signatory of the Declaration of Independence, saw the state of the arteries as the key to disease, recommending levels of bloodletting that were high even for that time. Get this, George Washington asked to be bled heavily after he developed a throat infection from weather exposure.
And then he's like, I'm not a masochist.
Within a 10-hour period, a total of 124 to 126 ounces, which is 3.75 liters of blood, was withdrawn prior to his death from a throat infection in 1799. One reason for the continued popularity of bloodletting and purging included, that they thought that disease was not curable. I mean, a lot of it. There's still a lot of disease that's not curable. And so in their belief, it was better to give some kind of treatment than to do nothing. So when you don't know what to do, stick a leech on somebody. In theory, allegedly.
Yeah, also, when you're sleeping in the middle of the night, I'll stick a leech right in the middle of your forehead.
Bloodletting.
What's that on your face? Oh shit, that's a leech still. Oh no.
Bloodletting persisted during the 19th century, partly because it was readily available to people of any socioeconomic status. Leeches are cheap.
It's a free-for-all.
Leeches
it's for us cheap. Plebeians, too.
Absolutely. Now, bloodletting gradually declined in popularity over the course of the 19th century.
What?
Now, some researchers used statistical methods by evaluating treatment effectiveness to discourage bloodletting. But at the same time, others defended bloodletting on scientific grounds.
The dumbasses.
Now, bloodletting persisted into the 20th century. And today, they don't call it bloodletting anymore. They call it therapeutic phlebotomy. In the hospital,
just put a fancy name on it. It's
absolutely, fine. That's what they're trying to do. They just relabeled it.
Put sugar on shit. Call it a donut. There you go.
There you go. And phlebotomy today usually refers to the removal of small quantities of blood for diagnostic purposes. Sometimes it's more than a small quantity.
Can you order leeches off of Amazon?
I think you have to order them from special companies. If they are
breeders.
No, seriously, if they are medical, they have to be medical grade leeches, just like the medical grade maggots. And that they are raised, in an environment that is very pure. You're hitting the equipment.
I don't give a fuck.
And there's a reason for these. They work. And the leeches, especially if somebody has had a limb reattached, or like toes or fingers or whatever like that, the blood does have a tendency to stagnate and coagulate, which causes a lot of times the, whatever it is, if they've reattached the limb, it causes it to fail. So that is it is a current medicinal use for leeches. Because they do get rid of the stagnant blood. They do produce that natural form of heparin and can be very beneficial. Now with the maggots, which is another cup because it doesn't does its way. No. If somebody has a wound that is gangrenous,
I don't want to.
Because gangrene is a very, very dangerous, disease.
Yes, I don't want
The body is, it's consuming, it's rotting bit by bit.
We get it.
And so the maggots will only eat necrotic or dead tissue. They will not eat live tissue.
I didn't want to hear it, but okay.
So that they can apply medical...
maggots crawling on your fucking toe, man.
Well, they don't. No. What they do, they put them in like sort of like a packing.
I don't want to hear it.
They
I don't want to hear it.
And then they remove them after so many days and put fresh ones there.
I don't care.
And it actually cleans the wound wonderfully and can prevent people from dying.
Rubbing alcohol?
No.
Just pour
that doesn't. Rubbing alcohol does not work on gangrene. It really does not. But the leeches can. Allegedly. So, anyhow, one of the purposes for bloodletting today, if I can do this right, hemochromatosis, which is a condition where people have too much iron in their blood. And too much iron
The opposite of anemia?
Yeah, really. And so that can cause a lot of, health issues that can kill them. And so they do.
I'm anemic. I can't lift a knife. Oh, it's too heavy.
And so they do the bloodletting by venipuncture. So I guess they just put the needle in and, I don't know, just let it roll. Hopefully they've got like a jug or something there beside them.
Fountain of youth.
And although bloodletting,
do it to a child, fountain of youth,
has been
just bathing their blood,
relegated to the realm of pseudoscience.
I'm bathed in his blood.
Well, that's bathed. We disproved bathed.
Bathed in his blood.
It is
blood
still
of Christ. Bathed in his blood.
It is still commonly indicated for a wide variety of conditions in Ayurveda. Unami, no. Unani.
You're looking at me like I know this
right.
shit.
Unani, I think it's what it is, but forgive me if I have pronounced that.
I don't see it.
Which is a South Asian, and I think it's a Muslim form of healing.
Unani.
And then the traditional Chinese systems of alternative medicine. And it says the Unani is based on the form of the humors, going back to the Greek thought on that. So, hey,
Hey.
Let me tell you something. With today's methods, can we say that they're that much better? They're just high-tech according to our world.
Yeah, but they put you to sleep now.
Not on a lot of stuff, they don't.
They give you some sort of numbing stuff?
Well, it depends on what the procedure is and whether there's time.
Numb me the fuck up. Then do whatever you want on me. As long as I can't feel shit, I'm good.
The leeches, no, they don't. When they attach, like I said, they actually don't hurt.
Yeah, they do.
No. A lot of people don't even know that they've got the leeches on them.
They're lying.
They're liars. You've not been.
They're liars. They're liars.
You have not been leeched.
I have not. They're liars.
No,
I just know it. Y'all full of shit.
Now this is.
Y'all so full of shit. The toilet's jealous.
We've got actual
I need to
things.
get a new joke. That one's costing me a fortune.
It is. The average adult has anywhere from 8 to 10 pints of blood, depending on their size and whether it's male or female or something like that. But it's roughly 8% of your body weight. Okay?
8%, that's a good thing. I'm keeping that 8%.
Anyhow, but there is a website, it's called Healthline, and an article, How Much Blood Can You Lose Without Severe Side Effects? And this was written by Kimberly Holland, May 24th of 2018. It says most adults can lose up to 14% of their blood without experiencing any major side effects or changes in vital signs. Some, however, may feel lightheaded or dizzy if this amount is lost quickly.
Here's a graham cracker.
Okay, if you lose
Here you go, eat the graham
15
cracker.
to 30% of your blood volume, you'll start to feel side effects such as nausea. You also may feel anxious or uneasy.
No shit.
Well, yeah, if you're bleeding out, I think that'd make me a little bit nervous. And then it says when blood loss nears 30 to 40% of total blood volume, your body will have a traumatic reaction.
No.
And it
Really?
says you may show signs
imagine.
of obvious confusion or disorientation.
No shit, because you're getting the blood sucked out of ya.
It says
You're not gonna know shit when all your blood is gone.
as the volume loss climbs, you may
Where is
pass
all
out.
the blood?
Hemorrhagic or hypovolemic shock occurs when you've lost 20% or more of your total blood volume. Okay, well now that means that some of these things that we've already talked about, this person's already gone into shock. And some of these symptoms of hemorrhagic shock: rapid breathing, weakness or fatigue, confusion, cool, pale skin, sweaty, moist skin, anxiety or unease, low urine
Moist.
output, dizziness, unconsciousness. Now, at 40%, more than likely, you're going to pass out and slip into a coma.
No.
At 50%
What?
loss of blood volume, usually that's coma and then the death.
Oh,
This was...
that's not very fast,
I love
dear.
this. If you'll likely feel
You good over there?
No, you'll likely feel very fatigued in the moments before entering into a coma. If close to death, these feelings may not even be noticed. Somebody wrote that. They actually said that.
Dear God.
You got somebody in trauma, and they bleeding out all over the place. I mean, you got some of those wounds.
Blood. What happened
that-
to all the blood?
Some of it doesn't just spill out. If you hit certain veins and arteries and stuff, it spurts. It's quite impressive, and
Squish.
depending on how much force is behind it, I mean, it'll hit you.
Don't stand behind it.
But it's like, what are you going to sit there and do? Somebody's like, explain to me how you feel right now. Violent. I feel violent.
I have light nausea. I have a paleness of skin. The room is starting to spin at the moment. I don't know if I can stand up. Oh, shit.
Bring more leeches. More leeches. That's what they need, is more leeches. Cottage industry. Seriously, we need to bring back leeching. It's a thing.
Set up shop at the cabin. Hey, free leeches, free bloodletting. Here you go.
All these people are wanting to do, the organic, this and that and the other.
That's organic.
Leeches are organic. So there you go.
You want to lose weight fast? Here's the bleach diet.
No, it's the tapeworm. That's a tapeworm. It's a different thing. So the bloodletting.
I got a roll of scotch tape up my ass.
Are you for it or against it? Could there have been benefits of the bloodletting that got swept under the rug of antiquity as the new medicine came in? I would try the leeching.
I got 110 leeches hanging off my ass.
Yep. But I mean, I would not
I can't
have.
sit. I'm not going to be able to sit for 15 days.
I would. Like I said, that's the pen. That was for the hemorrhoids.
God. I mean, they put 50 on one cheek and 50 on the other. There you go.
There you go. But I would try the leeching. If there was an
That's
area.
on you. I'm not.
Well, I'd say that if you had, if you had been in an accident and you had considerable bruising, I can see that very much, because that's what the bruising is. It's
I would rather get the blood
subdural
clot.
hematoma.
I would rather get the blood clot.
You wouldn't have to. But I mean, it is the thought of it.
I would rather deal with the blood clot that comes with the bruising than put the leech on me.
The leech could be beneficial. It really could. I would try the leeches.
Well, that's on you. That's why you're doing it.
But as far as the other stuff, you know, and maybe that's, God love them, these people that are cutters. Maybe they were into the bloodletting in another life. We don't know.
Past life.
Yeah. We'll have to explore the reincarnation thing at some point. But
voluntarily letting people put leeches on you and then have it suck your blood out, that has to be a form of self-harm.
They don't. They're small, and it's not like they can take.
They grow.
They do.
They're like ticks.
Sort of.
They're the fucking slug version of ticks.
No, they don't.
With teeth.
No, they don't cause disease. Ticks have parasitic diseases.
No, they suck your blood.
I understand the basis of it, but I'm just saying the leeches are beneficial, ticks are not. It's true. You know, we don't have...
I'm sorry, I'm not going to have a slug. There's a slug slurping off my blood for free.
It's a leech.
It's a fucking
similar,
slug.
but totally different. But I can see that there would be... If people were not so averse to it, because I do think it's always some kind of medieval something. Not everything medieval was bad.
Have you seen the fuckers?
Yeah.
Have you seen the teeth on those fuckers?
They're not. Seriously, they anesthetize. People don't know that they're there. They sort of anesthetize the area. It's not like...
It's the knowledge of it's there.
Well, yeah. I mean, that
Biting
guy's
into ya.
They're not really biting into you. They sort of have this circular lamprey type thing that they sort of attach.
Oh, so it's the electric razor of bugs.
Sort of. But once they're attached, they don't, you know.
Yeah, we all know electric razors are shit, too.
So anyhow, kid is totally freaked out. He's over here. He can't sit still.
I'm going to bed.
I will put. It's too late now for anybody who's
triggered.
I will put a disclaimer before the video begins. I did do that on the other one, so it's like if you're squeamish,
cut this and put it in the front. Trigger warning: graphic content. If you do not like medical stuff, do not click on this.
Discussion of leeches. Well, if it's called bloodletting,
it's medical.
It is.
It's medical.
Medical grade leeches. So, if you've had experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you've ever experienced the bloodletting or the leeches, if you've got local, regional, family, myths, and legends, send us an email, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. Now, you know I do a lot of alternative health things, which is why I would not be opposed to the leeches if need be. It's not like you just go out there on a lark and go, hey, hang a leech off me. But it's, if there is a need.
Those people... Hey, you want to buy some leeches?
Yeah, the guy in the trench coat. Yeah. But you'd have to have them in a jar. They can't, you
want to buy some
dry
leeches? They're fresh off the rack.
Yeah,
each in their jar.
I wonder what the street value of a leech is.
50 cents a piece.
Anyhow, you all have an absolutely beautiful, blessed day. Know that you are loved. Thank you for sharing coffee, some dark humor with us this morning.
I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette. Y'all,
I can understand that.
Y'all probably need one. Y'all smoke while y'all listen to this. I don't know. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that little notification button thing if you want daily notifications of our daily uploads, because it's daily. Fresh hot off the grill.
You can pretend it's a leech. We'll see you on the next cup. Bye.